This is Texans TV.
We say goodbye to a longtime Texans veteran and hear the story behind the voice of the Texans.
Rock and roll! The Texans win it!
Texans 360 is now.
Rock and roll! Touchdown, Texans! Luke with the catch! Oh my goodness!
Hello, my dear friends, and welcome into Texans 360. We are so happy that you're with us, and we hope you're very well right now, as well as all your loved ones. I'm Drew Dougherty, I'm the host. And we got the QB in the house, Clint Stoerner.
Yes, sir.
Of Sports Radio 610 in the afternoons. Before that, you played QB in the NFL at Arkansas and Baytown Lee here close to home. Clint, we got a lot to discuss because there's a running of the Bulls going on. We got to hear a little bit more about how the voice of the Texans became the voice of the Texans, but we start things off with some signings this week. DeAndre Carter, Darren Fells, and Kaimi Fairbairn, your receiver, your return man, he's the same thing, DeAndre Carter, as well as a tight end and kicker. They re-sign with the Texans. You keep some of the guys in-house. Now, I think ultimately, Texans probably going to keep about 6, 7 of their own more in-house when it's all said and done in free agency. But how important is it that that trio sticks in town?
Well, I think it's key that they got all the specialists taken care of. You got your, as you mentioned, your return guy in Carter. You got Kaimi Fairbairn, your kicker. You got your punter and your deep snapper. You got all those boxes checked, taken care of, off the shelf for a couple of years at the very least. But when you look at Darren Fells is a guy to me that at the position he played last year, there was a scare during training camp just from a depth perspective.
Sure.
A couple of guys went down, and you're looking at going into a season with just 2 tight ends, so you're 1 injury away from being in a really tough spot at the tight end position. I think that position overall has to get more explosive for this offense to take the next step, but Darren Fells being in that meeting room is a critical piece to this team, this offense taking the next step.
So those were some of the additions earlier in the week, but the big news of the week was a bit of a subtraction. Jonathan Joseph, your cornerback, and the Texans mutually agree that he's going to enter free agency, so that ends a 9-year run for J-Joe in the secondary. He was a leader in the locker room. Clint, he was a transformative force. When he walked through the door in 2011, this defense flipped the script, and he was a big, big reason why you could always count on him out there on the edge of corner.
Yeah, for a long time you could count on him, and I think everybody just seen him and what he can do from a skill standpoint, what he does on the field. But you hit the nail on the head. When you get a guy that's a veteran, a proven player, can last 14 years in this league, and he is a great culture guy, great locker room guy. One thing Bill O'Brien doesn't get credit for enough around the city and with this fan base is the culture that he's built. That's hard to do, and it's extremely powerful. And one of the key components to that culture has been Jonathan Joseph. So you hate to see him go, obviously, for what he does on the field, but just as much, if not more so, for what he's able to do in the locker room for this football team. So J-Joe being gone is going to be tough. Wish him the best.
Yeah, number 24 had a slew of great moments in his time here, almost a decade with the Texans. But we're going to look back at my favorite Jonathan Joseph moment, and a lot of your favorite Jonathan Joseph moments as well. This is our version of the film room going back to 2018 against the Buffalo Bills. All right, John, you're playing the Buffalo Bills. The week before, you'd won in overtime against the Dallas Cowboys. The week before, you'd won in overtime against the Indianapolis Colts. It's 13-13. You've just kicked a field goal. You got to make sure that they stay out of the end zone because it's looking like you're probably going to have to go to overtime for the 3rd straight week. Looking like you're going to have to go to overtime, and then Jonathan Joseph happens.
And, of course, Nathan Peterman happens, but we're not going to talk about that side of it too much.
I'm giving credit to our veteran defensive back.
Well, one piece of credit that you could give Drew, and you knew this because he told you this, he knew what this play was. He told Tyrann Mathieu, if they run this play again, I'm going to go get it. And Peterman, and I think this is one key distinction, Peterman's on the right hash. He does not have the arm to get this ball over here to the right sideline like Deshaun does or like his teammate Josh Allen does. He just doesn't have that sort of arm. And J-Joe knew it. And he makes a break on the ball here. And you're going to see a lot of moving parts on this play, which I love. So let's let it play through. But you're going to see Tyrann all the way over here. You're going to see Zach come over here. You're going to see Kareem coming on a blitz. And And then you're going to see 24 take the calculated risk and go jump this route in front of Kelvin Benjamin. This is defense as it's supposed to be. And I'm convinced, Drew, that if J.J. doesn't get this one, somehow Tyron was going to get this one. So let's take a look. Kelvin's just going to circle up here. He's just going to hitch this thing up. And they're going to try to run smash concept with a hitch and a corner route. And you've got safety playing over the top of that. Tyron's coming over to help here. Now J.J.'s going to cut that in front. I think it was a great play call, great scheme. And you can tell right now J.J.'s thinking, I can win this thing. Ball's not even out of his hands, but you can see J.J.'s coming. Not a great route by Benjamin. He fades to the sideline. And then J.J. in for 6. Gets to celebrate with everybody.
Who do you get to celebrate with?
Well, I don't know. Let's take a look here and see it.
Because I'd like to see this again. This was a great
Yeah, this is great.
finish.
Here's the end zone view. And you can see the Texans with a lot of moving parts. B-Mac coming out. Witt. Here comes Kareem. The back expects Kareem out here, but when Kareem goes in there, he gets in Peterman's view, and I think that was big. And then J.J. strikes.
Yep. He had to speed up there at the end.
Oh, wait a second. Who's that guy?
Right there. Gray suit.
Celebrating right
That's
there.
me. I was in the tunnel.
You were going nuts, man.
With John Schriever, head of ticketing, Blaine Foreman, LSS&E. It was a good time.
Look
it was
at
a
that.
good day.
Look at it. You get excited.
So that breaks up a tie game. Texans go on to win. Kareem Jackson, I think on the next play from scrimmage, he gets a pick to seal it. But Texans that was the best defense they played against all season. That Buffalo Bills defense, I thought.
And I thought the best defense on the field that day was still the Texans.
That was a fun look back at a fun day for Jonathan Joseph. If you want to see more on J.J., go to HoustonTexans.com and the Houston Texans mobile app. And if you also like that film room, we just shot a whole bunch of them with John Harris, so they're going to start coming out slowly over time. But let's talk about Jonathan Joseph. It's not a shock that he won't be back in 2020. So the secondary has a lot of question marks. The only cornerback with a good bit of experience, who's under contract for the Texans is Garyon Conley. What direction do the Texans need to go there out on the edges on the defense?
Well, I love Bradley Roby, and I love the emphasis being put on keeping guys in-house.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that when I scroll social media and they talk about keeping veterans in-house, free agents in-house, Bradley Roby is the face that you see. So I'm a real big fan of Bradley Roby. And look, to be completely honest with you, Drew, I'm higher on, and all year I've been higher on this secondary than most people have. So if you keep Bradley Roby, find a way to keep Bradley Roby in-house. Lonnie Johnson, if he can just stay steady and mature and develop at the rate of a second-year NFL guy, you hope he matures and develops a little bit quicker.
Yep.
But if he just stays average and just continues to develop as most players do, then you're going to be in a really good spot. I love Garyon Conley, but look, with Hargraves being out the door and then with Jonathan Joseph being gone, you've definitely got some depth issues that you've got to fill, some voids there, but I feel a lot more comfortable about those voids being filled if Bradley Roby sits atop that cornerback, that cover defender meeting room.
Pass rush and the secondary looks like a chicken or the egg type of discussion for a lot of people. So with all that in mind, what do the Texans need to do as far as the pass rush goes when you attack it in free agency and in the draft? Where do you see that going?
Yeah, man, I don't know who's out there for the Texans right now. You don't know who's going to be tagged, who's not going to be tagged. You hope Ejiofor can give you something. You hope Amenahu can give you a little bit more. You hope Jacob Martin and Whitney Merciless and J.J. Watt can give you more. But I think they need to go out and make a splash at the edge rusher position. And I would rather it be a speed guy than necessarily a big power guy.
And you got maybe a little bit of that speed in Jacob Martin. It's going to be fun to see how he progresses because he's still a very, very young player. It was his first year in the defense. Maybe you got something there with Jacob Martin as time comes by.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've got something there with several guys. I do believe there's a good foundation built there, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
Here's the deal, is the pass rush cannot depend. It can't hinge solely on J.J. Watt's health.
No.
It can't this year. In 2020, that cannot be the case.
When he was at his best, it never was hinging on him.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. There's got to be one more piece added to this pie. So that's really where I'm keeping my eye on outside help coming in.
All right, good stuff. We got to go and take a break, but when we come back, how did the voice of the Texans become so? Mark Vandermeer is under the microscope here in just a bit. This is Texans 360.
DeAndre Carter with the catch at the 35. He does it.
If you like that, check out HoustonTexans.com, the mobile app, because there's more cool videos, articles, podcasts, so much, slideshows. and we got you covered. Drew Dougherty, Clint Stoerner. Let's talk about a guy who's got a gorgeous voice. He's the voice of the Texans, Mark Vandermeer. He's had quite a journey, hasn't he?
Yes, he's had quite a journey. He's got some serious pipes, and I've been fortunate over the last year and a half, 2 years, I guess, to get to work around him and experience some of what you guys do over here with the Texans with Mark Vandermeer. I've been very lucky, but he's had a hell of a career, that's for sure.
He's gone all over the United States. Let's check out his journey here on the 53. This is Mark Vandermeer.
Ever since I got into this business, I only wanted to be the voice of a team. And I always say, if you go in the general direction of your dreams, eventually something's going to show up that's going to speak to you. It started in my 20s because I was selling advertising, selling radio and TV commercials to businesses, local businesses in the Boston area. The way I got on the air is I bought an hour of time on a small little radio station south of Boston. And nobody was doing sports talk on the weekends back then. So I was doing a show called AM Sports. And it was my show, and it was terrible. Maybe nobody listened, but I was on the air. And then one Friday night, they had me fill in and do a high school football game. But at halftime of that game, I was hit by a lightning bolt, and I said, this is what I'm going to do. This is it. I'm going to broadcast games, and I will do whatever it takes to do it. And I made up my mind that night. So from then on, it all became about what is it going to take to be the voice of a team.
Now running to his right across the 50, 45, cuts inside.
Medea top side, fires the three, got it! The Hurricanes win the national championship!
The 10, the 5, rock and roll! Touchdown, Houston! 97 yards!
I worked for a small station in Pennsylvania in the middle of nowhere called Clearfield. And it was great because I was doing DJ work, I was doing news, sports, everything, high school, play-by-play. About a year later, I get the job for Central Michigan University as the voice of the Chippewas. That was it. That was the first time I was the voice of a team. And I really loved being associated with that university, being the guy, calling football, calling basketball. And it was a monumental break at the time.
Brian Pruitt and the CMU tailbacks are the beneficiaries of fine play by Brock Gutierrez and company on the CMU offensive line.
And the fake reverse now for Brown running right. Stopped at the 18-yard line. Give to the inside for King. Breaks over a tackle at the 30. Gets over the 35, the 40.
After 3 years there, I wanted to move up, and it was always difficult to move up. UMass at the time was not looking for a play-by-play announcer. They needed help on the business side. I have a business background. I started out selling advertising. I was actually selling some advertising at Central. So I made a presentation to UMass that I could run their network, sell the bulk of the advertising, but you got to give me the play-by-play job if I'm going to do this. And after much thinking on their part, they decided to give me the job.
I'm Mark Vandermeer, joined by News 40's Scott Cohn.
At UMass, they were on top of the world at the time in college basketball, which was mind-blowing to everybody, and it's really the genius of John Calipari, everything he was able to do there. And I got to ride on that train with the Minutemen. And it blew my mind that I was at Central Michigan. We were 3-23 in basketball my last year there. I go from that to opening night, UMass taking on Kentucky, and we beat them and went to #1 that night. And it was just an incredible experience to ride that wave with the Minutemen. After a while, UMass starts to kind of go downward a little bit. My general manager actually left the radio station. I became the general manager of the station, play-by-play announcer. I was working 70, 80 hours a week, and it was not good for my health. But I really wanted to be in a situation where I could be in big-time college football, big-time college basketball, and big-time college baseball as well. And I chased down with a vengeance an opportunity at the University of Miami. There was a job opening there to be the play-by-play voice of the Hurricanes, And I knew that I was a long shot at best, but I put everything into it, all my sales techniques, every which way I could think of getting noticed in Miami. I did that. I flew down there on my own dime. I met the athletic director. I met the general manager, the program director. I didn't even have appointments with these people. I just waited them out in their waiting rooms. And eventually, they gave me the job as the voice of the Hurricanes.
Miami does it again. A 21-yard touchdown pass from Dorsey. 35-30, 25-20, right sideline. The 10, the 5, he's in! Kick out the jams! Clinton Fortis, touchdown Hurricanes!
Now, I didn't know it at the time when I got that job, but little did I know that they would have the greatest assembly of talent in the history of college football. And I'd be calling games involving Andre Johnson, Ed Reed. It was a magical run with the Hurricanes to be there when they were winning the championship in 01.
The Hurricanes win the national championship. Miami beats Nebraska at the Rose Bowl, 37-14, their 5th national championship.
So I'm at the Hurricanes and things are going well. We're going into that 2001 season. And I knew the Texans were coming into the league and everything. And at the time I thought, the NFL is the top line of play-by-play. It really is. So when the NFL had an opening, because it's a new franchise, it was intriguing to me, but I was just at Miami for a couple of years. I was happy at Miami. And I got a call from somebody with the Texans organization. Do you want to be a candidate for this position?
We are ready to rock in Houston.
Eventually I got the job here with the Texans, and it was the thrill of a lifetime to know that I was coming to the National Football League and be the first guy in. It is beyond special for me to be the voice of a team, but to be the only voice that the team ever had in this business, I don't take that lightly.
Touchdown, Houston! David Carr to Billy Miller, the first touchdown in Texans history.
I came to Houston not knowing anything about Houston. I knew that I was part of sports history in this city, whether I was good or not. I was the voice of this new NFL franchise, and I sought out Gene Peterson. I sought out Milo Hamilton. These guys are legends in this city. And then I met Andre Ware. And Andre Ware and I formed a team that has been together since opening night, and he is a wonderful color commentator. We have a great sound together. And having John Harris on the sideline is like having Google on the sideline, except in an entertaining way. So I love our crew and the guys behind the scenes as well.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Vandermeer with Andre Ware and John Harris on the sideline. Welcome to our coverage of Houston Texans football.
When I was a kid, I used to dream about playing guitar at Madison Square Garden. I saw Led Zeppelin as a kid. Yes, I did. And I just wanted to do something like that. So the first time I broadcast a game at Madison Square Garden, I was blown away. I thought, my dream has come true. I was the voice of UMass. We played a game at the Garden, and I was doing my job at Madison Square Garden. You never know how your dreams will come true or how they will show up. You have to allow a wide berth there. And today, I'm in NFL stadiums every weekend, and it is the thrill of a lifetime. I am living my dream every day, every year. Every day I come to work in a football stadium, pinch me. This is a fantastic life, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Now running to his right across the 50, 45, cuts inside.
Medea topside, fires the 3, got it! The Hurricanes win the national championship.
The 10, the 5, rock and roll. Touchdown, Houston! 97 yards. That one's for you, Bob.
It's over. The Texans have done it. They have beaten the Dallas Cowboys on opening night in team history. An historic night as the Houston Texans debut with a blast.
Andre Johnson, welcome to the playoffs. Rock and roll. The Texans win it. Touchdown. He's in. He's in. Magical. He does it again. Houdini.
When we return, the inspiring story behind a Running of the Bulls participant. It's all next on Texans 360.
Texans 360 is presented by Tide, America's #1 laundry detergent.
This is the Arctic Studio. We're here on Texans 360. Drew Dougherty, Clint Stoerner. Clint, you a runner?
No chance. 6 foot 240, and hard on the knees, man.
Well, you're going to be really impressed with the story of this fine lady and her running.
Back in 2018, when I got hired at my current job, I was very overweight at the time, and I registered for running the Bulls because my job, that's like the tradition that everybody does, like as a group together, and I'd never run a 5K before, and that's when it just like snowballed. So I got the information and I just took it and like ran with it, literally. When I first started, I couldn't even run a full mile, which actually like became a goal of mine where I was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Like maybe I don't feel like going running today, but like the race is in a month and you're kind of slacking, so you're gonna go anyways. The first time I ran running at the Bulls was 2018, first 5K every day, like I mentioned. And I see there's literally people strung out all over the place. Some people are in like costumes, and I'm just like, what's going on? Every couple of feet along the way, there was people lined up to encourage you to keep going.
And in first place from Houston, Texas, Bailey Reber.
What I like about the running of the Bulls is you finish on the football field. When I did it for the second time, it was even better because like I kind of like was anticipating the feeling. I'm like, oh, I'm about to finish and this is gonna be so great. And so I run in and there's not a whole lot of people, but I saw my time, and that's when we saw the results that I had gotten first in my division. Not only did like I surpass the original goal, I surpassed it and got first place. So even better than I had expected. Most people are like, I hate running. I used to hate running too. But with 5Ks, you don't have to run them. You can just walk them and enjoy the atmosphere of everybody just being so positive and encouraging. And I mean, I've lost over 60 pounds within like the last 2 years, and like gained muscle and won a 5K, which I have a trophy for, like so many things I never thought I could accomplish. And really it all started with just finding that one group of people who was there to help push me, and then I realized I can literally do anything I put my mind to.
More stories like that on the website and the Houston Texans mobile app, so make sure you check it out. Clint, always fun having you in here, man. You have a good time?
Absolutely, man. I always have fun with you guys.
Yeah, it's going to be cool to talk with you in about a month or two when the Texans have gone through a draft, gone through free agency. We're going to have a whole new set of stuff to talk about. Cool with you?
Yes, sir. Looking forward to it.
Can't wait to see you. We can't wait to see you again next week. We appreciate you joining us. For Tyler, and Joe, I'm Drew. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.